You are listening to KC Sports Network, proudly presented by Emprise Bank, your partner in possible. Who you do business with is more important than where they're located. Bank from the comfort of your own home with Emprise Bank. Coming up, the latest episode of the KC Laboratory Podcast with Ken Swanson, Craig Stout, and Matt Lane. Coming to you on the fastest growing sports media network in Kansas City. You can find all of our channels covering all the local teams wherever you listen to podcasts or on YouTube. Just search KCSN. And now, the latest episode of the KC Laboratory.
It's a live KC Laboratory presented by Emprise Bank, member FDIC. Matthew Lane, how much fun were you having watching all those Chiefs in the Pro Bowl today?
Buddy, I had a blast. As much Pro Bowl as I watched, let me tell you, I saw every second of that game that a Chief player was in there. I'm just excited you guys invited me on here for this draft show during this off week. I'm repping my Cincinnati Bearcats shirt for our guy Travis Kelce, Brian Cook, our new best friend Leonard Taylor. Like, I couldn't be happier that we're here to do this draft show right now.
Maddie, my friend, I hate to break this to you. We're going to be covering the Super Bowl that your favorite football team is in right now. Maddie is just noped out of the podcast for the second time in a week. Look at this man.
Oh, what's going on, guys?
Oh, he's back. Okay.
What's up? You guys ready to rock?
Yeah. Let's
not talking the draft. Let's talk Super Bowl, baby. Let's go.
If you're watching this, or if you're not watching this, Maddie switched shirts.
That was a wardrobe change.
No such thing.
That was magic. It was like magic. I was like blown away. I was kind of impressive. Thanks everybody watching. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Just a little bit of update on what the plan is for the KC Laboratory this week. We decided to do an extra show because it's the Super Bowl week. This week is literally our Super Bowl too. Like, we're all in, we're paying attention, all that good stuff. We're going to add extra shows. We're going to talk a little bit more this week. So today we're going to do prop bets, which is something we've done in the past where we just kind of go through some of the prop bets of the game. We don't have the fun ones, some of the like crazy, like national anthem ones, like the novelty ones quite, but we do have they're all football related. So we're going to do that today. Monday, we will be previewing the defense, the Chiefs defense versus the offense. So live lab previewing defense versus offense tomorrow. Thursday.
And then Maddie and I are noping out for the rest of the week.
We're just not showing up.
On Thursday, I will be monologuing for 35 minutes. It's probably just going to be me saying Patrick Mahomes' name over and over again, which if you listen to 21 questions would actually hit the over on that. That prop bet that has been established at 100.5 times. I mentioned best player in the world or Patrick Mahomes.
Most downloads ever. Right there.
Whether we're here or not, that's happening. So.
I might just like say it in like different voices as well. Like we'll see. But hit the like button, hit the subscribe button if you're watching. Prop bets are today. We'll be previewing the game the next 2 episodes during the week. And make sure you want to be subscribed now more than ever because we've got so much Super Bowl content coming your way. It's ridiculous. So the last couple of years we've done, some looks at some, prop bets for the Super Bowl when the Chiefs have been in the Super Bowl. So we're doing that today. We got all of these from DraftKings. Wonder why.
We need someone to track these to tell, so that way we would know if we're helping the people out or if they should fade us. Like, we need someone to get on that.
I think it's a great idea. You know what that sounds like a good idea for? You
can't better to even suggest that. The likelihood of this happening is so far in the negative right now.
I feel like, you've learned a little bit about using a Google Sheet.
Small amount.
Yeah, do you want
to tell anybody about my betting history? My exactly one bet that completely fell flat the first time ever.
We don't need to go there.
No, we can skip that.
We definitely need to skip that. But we don't need to skip these prop bets. And we're going to start with an easy one. I want to hear from y'all. I think I've got 10 to 15 of them here. We're going to start with an easy one. Over under is 50.5 points. Matthew, are you taking over or under 50.5 for this game?
50.5.
50.5.
50.5. Over. Give me the over. It's a little tough when you get into the Super Bowl. I think defense matters a little bit more as you go down the stretch. Offense obviously gets you there. I think defense in situations matters. The thing that I keep coming back to, though, is both of these coaching staffs get 2 weeks to prepare for this game. You get to be a little bit healthier, presumably, than you were last week, as long as nobody suffered a long-term injury. And then you get 2 weeks, and you have some good offensive minds in here. I think I'm going to go ahead and lean towards the over. You don't have the New England Patriots and Bill Belichick playing in the Super Bowl. So, I think that helps your odds a lot to not have an offense come out and lay a stinker. Yeah, give me the over.
I mean, yeah, I'm going to go with the over as well. But looking back here, recent history, last year's Super Bowl, 43. The year before, 40. The year before that, 51. That was the Chiefs beating the San Francisco 49ers, and we remember that score happened very late in the game to get it over that. 13-3 the year before that, and then they very clear big over in that Eagles-New England game. So the last 2 Super Bowls that the Eagles and Chiefs have participated in that they won, hit the over. So that's my logic.
Ironclad. Give me the over too. I think you're going to see a lot of points. You saw Brandon Ayuk making some comments that they had some things.
Chief, fingers crossed.
They were
Let's
cooking.
Talk about that real quick.
Yeah, Brandon Ayuk makes the comment that that the San Francisco 49ers had some stuff cooking where they thought they were going to do a number on the Eagles secondary. They thought they had some ways that they were going to be able to exploit them, and then both of their quarterbacks got hurt. And they I don't think Christian McCaffrey was dicing up the secondary. He seems to think the Chiefs are about to lay the wood on that team. So I don't think I disagree, not to look too far ahead to the offensive preview, but I think the best quarterback that the Eagles have played has been Dak Prescott. They haven't seen an offense like this. They haven't seen a quarterback like this yet.
If we're chiming in on this, I would agree. I don't think that Kyle Shanahan and Andy Reid necessarily run super similar offenses, right? I don't think that their offensive structures look the same, but what they do to a defense is very similar. How they try to attack a defense in terms of what they're stressing, the players in the areas of the field they stress are very similar. Like everyone knows the memes of Kyle Shanahan locating one player on the opposing side and attacking him relentlessly, usually a linebacker. Guess who does the same exact thing? He just doesn't do it from outside zone and play action. Andy Reid. So I do think if this is true, if Brandon Ayuk sees this on film, Andy Reid's clearly going to have someone tell him that he's going to pick up on it, and they will devise up some kind of game plan to take advantage of an Eagles coverage unit that's not the strongest up the middle. The middle of the field is where they are the weakest. I mean, it's funny that Ayuk specifically mentioned Bradbury as a guy they beat, because that's, I think, one of their stronger spots is their outside corner spots, but just I can see a path that this could still have some overlap between these two teams, even though the offenses look entirely different.
And yeah, it's the middle of the field stuff that Maddie's talking about there. That, man, there's a couple of really good players for the Chiefs that like to live in the middle of the field there. Another Travis Kelce game would be very dangerous there. It's the over. You hammer the over on this. So yeah, Ayuk coming out and saying basically it's like, man, we were unlucky that we lost both of our starting quarterbacks. We essentially could not throw the ball, period. And our coach decided that he was going to block the best pass rusher in the league this year with a pulling tight end. It wasn't a good game plan. It didn't work out. So, I mean, it went the wrong way for them to try and exploit stuff. I have a feeling that Andy Reid's going to put points on the board. I think the Eagles are a good unit. They'll put points on the board. So the over feels pretty safe to me in this bet.
Some interesting conversation will ensue about Hassan Reddick later today. Just so you know, jersey number of the first touchdown score. The over-under is set at 11.5. So that means the under would be...
Matt makes us do math during training camp. It's the worst thing ever. But here comes Kent for the Super Bowl, talking about over-unders for jersey numbers on two different teams. Unbelievable.
11.5. That means you're getting A.J. Brown, Jalen Hurts from Devontae Smith from the Eagles, and you're getting Isaiah Pacheco, Juju, Jerick McKinnon for the Chiefs. What say you, Matthew?
And Marquez Valdez-Scantling.
Oh, yeah, and MVS.
There's obviously other guys in here, right? But it seems like it's kind of, is it going to be Travis Kelce or is it going to be like anybody else that you would anticipate scoring the first touchdown? No, that's what it seems like. Now, I think what goes to the Travis Kelce side is any player that I think you would peg as a sneaky first touchdown, whether it's a trick play or the guy that a team schemes to get free. It seems like it's leaning that over, but it's just funny how it breaks down.
Jody Fortson.
Give me Travis Kelce as the first touchdown score. I'm taking the over.
Let's see. Dallas Goedert is in there as well.
It's Travis Kelce.
When you start breaking it down, like it doesn't seem as lopsided as you would think in that scenario, especially since a Mahomes rushing touchdown, which, we know how he goes in the playoffs. So that would actually count for the over as well. So like everything to me is kind of pointing more towards the over. So I'm taking the under on that one. I think it's going to be one of the Chiefs running backs or one of the Eagles wide receivers. I think it's fairly safely one of those two for the first touchdown score because
or Jalen Hurts.
Does it change your mind that Boston Scott is the kick returner number 35 for the Eagles, but Isaiah Pacheco maybe is the kick returner for the Chiefs?
I mean, I like Devin Albertson in the chat here. Colin Saunders, number 99. Buddy, if they've got a Colin Saunders design touch in the first 15 for the Chiefs, I am all about it. Let's go.
Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button if you're watching. All right. I'm going to just ask this question because this isn't really an over-under. This is just an interesting prop. Would you rather take the quarterback to win the MVP, quarterback position to win the MVP at minus 650, or would you rather take the defensive line at plus 2,500 to win the MVP? What you got, Maddie?
Okay, you're gonna go with me first on all these. I'm catching on now. Okay, the smarter bet, I think, is the defensive line because the value is just so much better. And if you see the way that Hassan Reddick played last week versus the 49ers or how Chris Jones played against the Cincinnati Bengals, you very clearly have your avenue to a defensive lineman winning this award. The problem is the Chiefs are going to win. And therefore, if the Chiefs are going to win, it's kind of hard not to give it to Patrick Mahomes or Travis Kelce. I have a hard time believing that anybody's going to jump one of those two guys. Chris Jones can come out there and play as good as he did against Cincinnati, and he might have been the best player on the field. Nobody would come close to giving him the MVP over Mahomes in that game, or arguably over Kelce, who had a pretty solid game as well. So I think it's going to be too hard to beat those two guys out and win the Chiefs win. So give me the quarterback just to be safe.
I hate that that's the case. I hate that you're right about that because, Chris Jones was the most important part of that game. He was the MVP of that AFC Championship game. And nope, definitely wouldn't have given it to him. Nobody would have. And that sucks because defensive players can ball out, and unless it is a game that is just a complete war of attrition on offense where there's not very many points scored and you've got a defensive player that's just impacting the game as much as a guy like Von Miller did several years ago, you're just not having a defensive player win MVP. I do not expect that either of these offenses are going to be so stagnant that a defensive player is going to win MVP. So the smart money is still on quarterback, even though I would absolutely love it if Chris Jones played well enough. If the Chiefs hit the over and Chris Jones wins the MVP, things went very well for the Chiefs in that game.
I like that defensive line. I think there's a couple game wreckers that have got enough love here recently that, hey, shout out listening in Morocco. Go Chiefs. Let's go. I don't know. The defensive line was interesting to me. It's real tempting to me just because I think there are two verified bona fide game wreckers. I think I don't know how I don't know. I'm not a Jalen Hurts hater by any stretch of the word. I'm not blown away by him though. So I think it's one quarterback, if you ask me. Speaking of those quarterbacks, Patrick Mahomes, over under 288.5 passing yards on the game.
My Lord. Go to Craig. Make him answer.
Craig, man. Fine. Go for it.
That's a really tough one because everything's going to get a little tighter. It's going to be very hard. even with the Eagles secondary not being the best secondary that they faced, I can certainly see a script where Patrick Mahomes has to air the ball out more, get the ball to Kelce a lot in the middle of the field. They can rack up those numbers pretty quickly, but it's a Super Bowl. There's going to be some tightness there, just in general. It's not necessarily going to come from Mahomes, but there's a lot of guys that are playing their very first Super Bowl in those weapons there. So that's tough. You're going to have some nerves. You're going to have some guys that maybe aren't quite in the right spot all the time. So I can see a little bit of a disconnect early. I'm going to go under on this, but I think it's going to be just barely under on that. And so I'm going to attribute it fully to nerves and tightness in the opening quarter or two.
I don't think I can pick the over and then pick the under for this number. I don't think those two things coincide. So I can't say the Chiefs are going to win. It's going to go over 50.5 points or whatever it is, and that the Patrick Mahomes will have under 280 whatever passing yards. So I'm going to take the over. I think a big thing for me is we just saw the Cincinnati Bengals, who have a lot of familiarity with the Chiefs offense, know how to play them very well. And Patrick Mahomes was on like 1.5 ankles for half the game and then on one ankle for the back half of the game. And he still went over 300 yards. He went 326 passing yards in that game in a worse spot against what should be a little bit harder of a matchup, just given the familiarity and then going through all those injuries. The Chiefs were throwing to Marcus Kemp off of one ankle and he went over 300 yards. I have a hard time believing that we can't replicate close to that same level of production versus a defense that hasn't seen this offense and against an offense that should be healthier, Mahomes included, and the receiving weapon. So give me the over.
Do you know how many times Patrick Mahomes has gone over 288.5 passing yards in the Super Bowl? 0. Mm-hmm. He went 286, 270. That being said, I stand with Brandon Ayuk. Give me the over.
Those defenses, the Bucs and the 49ers, a little better defenses.
And there was a whole lot of drops in that Bucs game. I mean, the Chiefs are getting blown out, but there was a lot of yardage left on there and some drops.
What did Patrick Mahomes do to that Niners defense earlier this year too, by the way? Well, anyways, moving forward, Jalen Hurts over under 245.5 passing yards. Maddie, can we go to you? Is that all right? Is it in your contract?
Yeah, that's okay. Cool. You never answer first. That's fine.
I'll
Jalen
answer
Hurts,
first.
I'm gonna go with the under because I don't think that the Eagles' plan of attack is going to be letting Jalen Hurts air the ball out. If they are getting back to where it's second and third and long frequently, and Jalen Hurts is having to push for that number, I think they are in a tough spot trying to play catch up. If they're trying to play catch up, that means Steve Spagnuolo and the Chiefs defense are right where they want to be. I'll take the under. This isn't to say, I don't want to say the Eagles can't win. I just don't think that's their path to winning. I think it would much rather be a rushing game for them. So yeah, I'll take the under for Jalen Hurts passing yards.
I think it's the under as well. He's only done that 5 times this season, and all of those were early in the season. Like that was before he got injured, before we saw him kind of have to pull back on the reins a little bit there at the end of the year. And I honestly don't think that that's the way that you want to attack the Chiefs defense. I think that there is a better path for that offense to take control of the game, to maximize what they're going to get. They're still going to throw the ball around the yard. Like, I think he clears 200, but I don't think that that is the way that the Philadelphia Eagles are going to come out and say, hey, we're going to go after the Chiefs this way. I think using the legs of Jalen Hurts, using that diverse run game, really stretching those linebackers, a little spoilers for tomorrow there, but I think that that's the way that they need to be hammering it.
How many times has he been trailing this year? Give me the over. Patrick Mahomes over under rushing yards set at 20.5. I love this one. I am fascinated by this one because we will be 3 weeks removed from a high ankle sprain. Obviously, I rewatched the game a couple times this week. It's remarkable how good Mahomes looked for stretches of that football game, despite the ankle injury, despite coming off that ankle injury. We saw him get that rush late in the game. 20.5 is a big number on 3 weeks removed. I think personally, 3 weeks removed from a high ankle sprain. I think that's a real big number. And Maddie, you know what? I'll go first here. I'm going to take the under. I don't think that Mahomes is going to be very limited. I just don't know if we're going to see him just open it up and take off too many times either, though.
This is tricky to me.
That's why
I hear what you're saying. I hear what you're saying. It's not the number. The number doesn't matter to me. It's just all about where's Mahomes going to be. Because I go back and watch that Bengals game, and there was multiple times where he was sacked for 1 yard or like 1 or 2 yards where he was clearly not tucking the ball to run when I think he normally would have. And even if he's not healthy, but feeling better, if he feels like he can take a hit to the back of the leg while running in this game, that -2 yards might become 5 yards. It might become 7 yards. And all of a sudden you turn 2 of those into that. And then plus his normal amounts of scrambles, like we're now flirting with what it's going to be. Or on top of that, I think the Eagles are going to have trouble covering the middle of the field. They might have trouble in coverage. Guess what happens when you have a pass rush that really likes to pin their ears back and get after the quarterback, and they have to put a lot of buddies in coverage? Whole lot of open space. So it just takes Mahomes one wide open little gallop, and he picks up 10, 15 yards, even if hobbled a little bit. Like I can see the path, even while injured, how he gets there. I'm going to take the under because I think the game plan is going to be based around not having him do that. But boy, if that game's close down the stretch, like I said, it takes 1 or 2 runs, and I think he's going to have some good looks against this type of Eagles defense.
And if you told me that it was going to be him matched up against TJ Edwards most of the game, like I'm going to feel pretty good. Like if they're spying him with TJ Edwards, I'm going to feel pretty good about him escaping the pocket. Hassan Reddick is going to get his, like he is. There's going to be pressures in that. He's going to have to move away from that often. And if he can step up through the pocket a little bit, and it's TJ Edwards that's spying him, yeah, I think he can leak out for a 7 and 8 yard gain enough times to hit the over on that. Problem is, if it's Kelce White, I don't feel as good about that. White's a pretty good mover. He can corral him a little bit more. So I am actually going to go with the under on this one just because I think that the Eagles are going to come out with a good game plan to try and keep him in the pocket a little bit. We got Delvin Albertson under because of him kneeling at the end of the game, just like the 49ers game. I love the technicality. I just don't think – I think he's going to be under anyway, just the way the game goes.
Please spin Kelce White spying a one-ankled Mahomes. I beg of you, have that in the game plan. Put Kelce White as a spy on a one-legged Mahomes, please.
Isaiah Pacheco over under 49.5 rushing yards. What say you, Matthew?
Oh my Lord. I don't know what to do with this number. Over because I don't know at this point in time. I don't know what to do with the Chiefs rushing. Over because he likes to hit one really good run, hard run every single game and then grind out the rest.
Yeah, I'm going to go over as well. He's running angry, and he's one of those guys, like I talked about, maybe the offense being a little bit disconnected, being a little nervous coming out of the gate. He's one of the guys that I don't expect that out of, actually. Like, I don't know that man knows that kind of nerves or fear. Like, we've not seen it yet. He's basically been thrust into the limelight in one of the NFL's best offenses. They keep feeding him the rock, and he takes care of it, and he does well with it. They would have gone to Jet McKinnon more often if they didn't believe that Isaiah Pacheco was ready for this moment. I feel like he's ready for that moment. So I'm going to say an over, and I do think that it's going to be a big chunk play and then a bunch of little, cuts basically as he goes through the rest of the defense.
I think they're going to have some rushing success this week. I do. And so I think Isaiah Pacheco will be the beneficiary, obviously, of that. I like that. I like the over on 49.5 as well. All right, AJ Brown, over under 5.5 receptions on the day.
Woo. Over. Hard over.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm going to say hard over as well. There's going to be a lot of contested catches. We've seen how the Chiefs secondary has done with those. He's really good he's a really good receiver. Maddie, you were going to say something. What?
I'll just say, contested catches. Let's say they're going to give him 1 to 3 screens or now routes and just see what he makes in the open field. Like, they're going to give him that opportunity. Yeah. Even if he gets tackled for 2 yards like Jamar Chase by Trip McDuffie every single time, it's still a catch. It has nothing to do with the yards. It's just a catch. So, yeah, I mean, they would be silly to not try AJ Brown as a runner after the catch versus a Chiefs defense that has had some bad tackling performances. They've been good lately, but he's had some bad ones as well. So, yeah, I think they're going to have a handful of free catches that they just manufacture for him.
Okay, so a couple things. AJ Brown hasn't had over 5.5 receptions since before Christmas. And how many times do you think AJ Brown had 5 or more catches, or more than 5 catches? I mean,
for the season?
Yes.
I think early in the year, it was a lot of big plays. And the way that offense works, it doesn't funnel through the passing game. I'm still taking the over because of what I said. They're going to give him manufactured touches to catch the ball and make guys miss.
So he's got plenty of games over 5 catches.
He's got 5. He has 5 games over. AJ Brown has 5 games over 5 catches.
Mine's all game script. Mine's all game plan and game script. Make these Chiefs DBs who are definitely smaller than AJ Brown try to tackle him. See if it works or doesn't. I think you get 1 to 3 of those. If you think they're shutting them down outside of that, okay.
I think man wants the ball. That offense is going to funnel through him. Yeah.
I think 5.5 is a great line. I don't think it's going to be some giant number though. I think it's 6 to 7 if it's over. I'll be a hater. Give me the under. Why not? Travis Kelce reception set over under 7.5. I'll go first because Maddie's making me.
Right.
I'm gonna go with the over. I know the Eagles are gonna be very intent on trying to take Travis Kelce away, and they're gonna do a pretty good job of it, but that's just proven not to matter. Now, if you want to say that the yards per catch isn't great, if it's a 7 to 9 yards per reception on the day, wouldn't be stunned by that. But I do think that they will be able to get Travis Kelce some yards. Mahomes, the one guy, we don't see a ton of back shoulder stuff here in Kansas City, but the one guy Patrick Mahomes is always on page with and is willing to maybe risk and dare some things a little bit more in games, it's Travis Kelce. We saw it on 4th and 1 last week in the AFC Championship game on the sprint out. They're just going to kind of, it's just we're going to adjust. We're not really, we're supposed to be running a corner here, but we're just going to sit here and Mahomes is going to throw a ball right here on his helmet. So give me the over on Travis Kelce receptions. I don't know if it's going to be like the most elite production. I don't think he's going. I don't know if he'll go over 100. That'll be it's a good line to look at there.
I can't in good faith bet the under here, right? Like I think that's a bad process to take the under on Travis Kelce in terms of producing in this offense, in this game, when this is going to matter like this. I think I'd have a lot harder time with yardage because I can definitely see him having 7+ catches, but not a ton of yards. I can see him being the kind of check down guy, the guy that they're going to get 3 yards when they need 3 yards if the Eagles are doing a great job stopping them. So, yeah, I'll take the over on catches. Let's just hopefully we don't get to yards coming up soon because then I have to fight it a lot more.
I'm not doing yards.
Good. I'm going under. I'm going under on this one. I think the Chiefs are going to spread the ball around a lot. I think there's going to be a concerted effort to get the ball to Kadarius Toney, Juju Smith-Schuster. Patrick obviously trusted in MVS in the AFC Championship game. I think we'll see a few things go that way. Then we're going to see some manufactured touches. Sky Moore is going to get some. As I mentioned, Kadarius Toney's going to get some. There's going to be a lot of dump offs to Jet McKinnon as they try and negate this quick pass rush. I think that there's going to be a lot of spreading the ball around. I think Travis will hover around that 6-7 catch range and not hit the over in this game.
Longest reception from AJ Brown, the over-under is set at 25.5 yards. I'll start again. Give me the over on this. I don't think he's going to have – I don't know what the volume will look like. I think Jalen Hurts has kind of been not good lately. And I think that's one thing you got to take into consideration. But I think AJ Brown's good for one big explosive, challenging, winning at the catch point against this young secondary. And I would be stunned if he doesn't have an explosive play, win or lose for the Chiefs, over 25.5 or under. He's having one over 25.5 yards. That's happening.
I'll take the under. I think take the under. I told you I was getting his catches. I think it's more likely that the Chiefs give up a long pass to Devonta Smith. So if that's coming up soon, spoiler, if you have a longest catch for him, I'm taking. I think that AJ Brown will not have a catch over, what did we say, 25.5?
Yeah.
Yeah. Nope. Under. Bottle them up.
Big time players, big time plays. They're going to give him the ball, especially if the game script works with, basically the Chiefs jump out a little bit on this team at all. Jalen Hurts is going to be throwing the ball to AJ Brown. He's going to be giving him an opportunity to break a big play, and a contested catch 26 yards down the field or longer. Yeah. Give me the over.
Okay. These next 3
are great,
are awesome. I can't wait to talk to you guys about them. And I'm very curious. We'll get there. We'll start with this one. Chris Jones over under 0.25 sacks. So all he needs is half a sack. The over under is 0.25 sacks.
Over. Do I need to explain that much?
Yeah.
No, it's a great offensive line. The interior offensive line is very good too. So the Eagles offensive line is very good, but you know what they're not particularly good at? Not giving up sacks. And I'm not saying that's the offensive line. That's Hurts, and some of that was Minshew being in there, but they give up sacks. The ball is held on to a little bit in this offense. There are times when you take away what they're trying to do, that stuff becomes open. Well, I'll be kind of interested to see, and we'll talk about this more during the week, what the Eagles do with Chris Jones. Do they go out of the way? Do they change what they do to take him away? Do they go out of their way and try to Cincinnati him and double team him and make the Chiefs get really, I don't want to say really exotic, but move him around a lot and get him good looks? Or do they try to man him up early in the game and just go through their protections and let their good players try to block him one-on-one? Either way, I'm just getting to a half a sack for Chris Jones on a team that takes a fair amount of sacks. Yeah, give me that.
I mean, yes, the interior of this offensive line is light years better than the one that Chris Jones just dominated, but that doesn't matter. Chris Jones has been so good all season long. He got the albatross off of his back. He got himself some playoff sacks. He had an MVP level performance last game. Now you're going to tell me that a guy that is going to hang in the pocket a little bit longer isn't going to take a sack from one of the NFL's best players in the league, let alone half a sack. Like that's the thing. You give me that half a sack, man. It's an easy over for me on this one.
I was surprised. Like I was surprised to see that. And it wasn't like even money. It was minus 130 on the over and plus 100 on the under. But I feel like that line is just I'm stunned. I'm stunned that it's that low for him. It's kind of one of those like, what does Vegas know kind of things, you know? So that's the kind of thing, like that's just one of those ones that make me, you know, kind of think, what do they know there? I mean, I do think that there's going to be some intentionality on taking away Chris Jones, but also as there should be, but like every team tries to take away Chris Jones. I just think over like half a sack or more is just extremely reasonable for Chris Jones, regardless of what's going on. So yeah, I kind of like that one a lot, if I'm being honest. The other one, Frank, here's where it gets even more interesting. Frank Clark over under 0.75 sacks. Like, what are we doing here? I like Frank Clark. I think Frank Clark rules. I think he's had an outstanding postseason. I just don't understand how we're gonna say Chris Jones 0.25 sacks and Frank Clark 0.75.
That's a really good point. Hey, who's higher in the all-time playoff sack?
Frank Clark.
Can you pull me in? Oh, okay. A lot higher, just a little higher.
Like a lot.
Okay. So yeah, like I get that line. I'm gonna take the over because I think he gets one. And honestly, if we're going on a half sack for both these guys, you know what? I would take Frank over Chris Jones. And for one simple reason, Jalen Hurts, very mobile. What do mobile QBs do? They start to run. They start to escape the pocket. It's usually your cleanup guy or your edge guys that are going to collect a few more sacks. Yes, Chris Jones can be the disruptor. Yes, he can get through and make a clean sack a lot more often, and he likely will before Frank Clark will. But when Jalen Hurts is forced to scramble, when he breaks that first sack and then it starts to run away, guess who's like always there, especially in the playoffs? It's Frank Clark, a guy whose motor doesn't quit. So like I get the line there being higher given the playoff success and just the type of battle it should be between quarterback and pass rush. So yeah, I get both of those lines. I'll take the over on both. I'm never betting against playoff Frank.
I understand, you know, the Eagles' interior offensive line, like this is no disrespect to any of them, but those tackles are really good. Like I understand why the initial reaction of, hey, he's going to struggle to beat Lane Johnson or Jordan Mailata. Like, yeah, I get it. I totally understand why somebody would look at that and say, yeah, he's not going to beat those guys cleanly very often. And I mostly agree with that. But yes, it's like Maddie said, you're rolling out of the pocket. Those guys don't have anything to do in that scenario. That second reaction play, that ability to pursue out in the flat if there's like a play action boot or something like that, which the Eagles like to do a little bit, and they love getting their running game going, then play action, and off of that, all it takes is Frank to sniff out one of those, And then all of a sudden, you've got a guy in open space who can bring down the quarterback, get himself a sack, vault himself up the rankings a little bit higher. I'm going over.
Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button if you're watching. Appreciate everybody that is watching. I'm gonna pull up. Well, I'm gonna try to pull up the numbers real quick, just so you know. Frank Clark, over 75.5 is plus 120. Under is 0.75. I still, man, I think I'd rather take the Chris Jones prop than the Frank Clark prop. Still, I genuinely, I'm if I'm having to pick between the two,
parlay them. Hit them both.
I wonder if I don't know if they'll. Yeah, we'll have to ask DraftKings if we're allowed to parlay those two.
I wouldn't argue it with you. I get the process.
Man, that's just shocking.
And
it's not. This isn't an anti-Frank thing at all. Like I think it's pretty well established where I sit on Frank Clark too. But that was just kind of surprising. Like Frank's getting a whole half sack.
Jordan Mailata, Lane Johnson, very good tackles. I think they're probably better tackles than the guard comparison of Landon Dickerson and Isaac Sumalo on the interior. So, I get the matchups harder. Guess what, though? I've seen Frank Clark beat, Trent Williams clean.
Yeah.
Now, there was a slight pause. Jimmy Garoppolo made that sack easier because he started to scramble and then held the ball. But guess what happens when you have a quarterback that likes to move? He sometimes holds the ball. We've already established that's something that Jalen Hurts does. So, we can't pretend like Frank Clark, even this version of him, isn't able on one rep to beat a very good offensive tackle. He very much can. And if you give him that second half to play to get there, I have faith in playoff Frank here. And not that I don't have it in Chris, just this type of game, I could see Hurts getting away from Chris Jones on purpose. That's the structure of the offense. And that takes you into Carlos Dunlap, who's amazing at staying home. Mike Dana with a lot of hustle. George Karlaftis with a lot of hustle. And Frank Clark, who just has a knack for always being there.
So here's the last one on defensive linemen.
Oh,
Hassan Reddick, over under 0.25 sacks. The over is minus 175. The under is plus 140. I again am stunned.
Over.
Yeah.
This is weird too, though, because Mahomes and the Chiefs don't take sacks.
What do they know? What do they know?
But I'm saying, but the Chiefs don't take sacks. That's what they know. They know the Chiefs don't take sacks. My counterpoint is going to be, but look how many times Mahomes technically took a sack in the Bengals game because he wasn't his 100% healthy self. You're telling me that Hassan Reddick isn't going to be able to hustle and tackle him one time behind the line of scrimmage for a minus 1 yard play? That's where I definitely see this being an easy over of getting a half sack, is just finishing a play and getting a minus 1, minus 2 yard tackle that is a sack when Mahomes just doesn't quite have the juice to outrun him on the bum ankles. It seems low. I get it, but Mahomes is really good at not taking sacks.
It's low for the type of player that Hassan Reddick is against the tackles that the Chiefs have. If you told me that they were going up against a bunch of power guys on the outside, and doing all that, sure, yeah, you absolutely. I'm saying, hey, these Chiefs tackles can hold up for long enough. Hassan Reddick is the exact type of player that gives the Chiefs fits, and the Chiefs are going to focus on him. Don't get me wrong; they're going to send plenty of help the way wherever Reddick is, whether it's over Wiley, whether it's over Orlando Brown, it does not matter. They're going to send all kinds of help, but there's going to be a rep where he's going to be one-on-one. There's going to be a 5-0 rep or something like that the Chiefs are going to be just locked in with that, and you're not going to have that chip. All it takes is one with Reddick this year. He has been that level of good, and going against these tackles, yes, I expect when you were slow playing that, I was thinking you were going to say that it was over a sack, and then I was going to have to think about it a little bit. But man, that's easy money for me right there.
I knew you guys were going to be just surprised by that one. All three of them are surprising, and not Frank relative to Chris is interesting to me, and then Hassan Reddick being that low. It's not even money entirely, but
compared to Reddick is more surprising to me. That's the one I find a little bit more surprising.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Real quick, one more before we get out of here. Field goals made over under 1.5 for Harrison Butker. Over under.
Over for me on that one. Things just get tight. Things are going to get tight in the red zone. They are. Everybody's scouting everybody's red zone looks. Andy Reid is going to take the points. He's not going to play there's going to be some fourth down decisions that I'm sure people are going to be tearing their hair out over at some point in this game. He's going to kick a field goal and trust in Harrison Butker on Arizona's field to be able to hit that without having to deal with a whole bunch of elements.
Yeah, I mean, I'll take the over as well. I think we've seen that Andy Reid is a pretty conservative coach, right? Like if he gets in these situations where it's especially not putting the game on the line, and even then he's pretty conservative. So as soon as they get into field goal range, he is going to be trying to cue that up. I think you might see a couple fourth down go for it's out of them, but I think that we're going to take the over, I think, pretty comfortably there. Before you wrap us up, Kent, you can answer, but I have two quick ones that I want to throw at you guys that are not DraftKings. These are straight from Youthful Regis himself. He sent them to me. He's busy right now, so you guys do have to answer these, though, before
Youthful
we get out.
Regis Sportsbook.
I'm in.
You guys
How
ready?
much money can I give Youthful Regis?
Well, you get to see if you win.
Okay.
Jalen Watson, over, under, 0.5 turnovers forced in this game.
Under.
Over, baby. Jalen, you're going over. You're bringing another one in. He's going to keep his streak going here in this playoffs.
That's a tough prop for me. So I'm taking the under. That's
It's okay. It's a defensive prop. I get it.
Yeah.
Over under 0.5 laterals in the game.
Oh boy. If Travis Kelce hadn't gotten yelled at just last week, I would take the over on this. I'm going to say under. I don't think it's coming down to a final play where there's going to be a bunch of laterals in this game. I just don't. I'm going to take the under.
You could take Travis Kelce's laterals out of the game, and they still would have hit the over last week. So give me the over on that one.
Yeah, I thought Regis put that one kind of low because any like double pass is going to count if you do have a hook and ladder in the half or the game. Like I think that one was a little low from him. I think he was a little off the mark on that one. That's all he sent me. Unfortunately, I wish there was more, but that's all we got.
Well, we got more for you all on Monday night, 8 p.m. As we always do. We will be live again tomorrow, breaking down the Chiefs defense versus the Eagles offense, getting you ready for the Super Bowl on Sunday. Make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you hit the subscribe button because we'll be back, and the rest of the KCSN roster will be here covering this game, getting you ready for the biggest game of the year, Chiefs Eagles Super Bowl. Thank you all so much. We appreciate you, and we'll catch you later.